I would just start by saying that this bill accomplishes exactly what the first bill did, but does so in a much more, in my opinion, pragmatic and reasonable way that it brings industry to the table. The folks that are actually going to do this work, the folks that we're requiring to report on these things, they're actually part of this conversation in this bill. And it's much more likely, because they are part of that conversation, that they're going to be very, very engaged in this process and be able to give us the actual numbers, not volunteer those numbers, but if we want to solve this problem, and industry has assured me they want to solve this problem, we need real numbers, not numbers that sometimes get reported, numbers that are voluntary, and if they don't report, great. If they do report, great. We need actual data to make these changes. This bill does that. I will also say that if it's not already been done, staff will be uploading into your EBB a side-by-side of the two bills. And Ms. Eichmeyer did an amazing job putting these bills side-by-side and discussing the nuances. They're not that far apart, but we really need industry to come with us on this journey and this data collection, and my bill encourages that, and I just think it's a good incentive to get the data we actually need. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for the prime sponsor? Representative Arno.
Well, I was so intrigued by the last prime sponsor's analogy of the two bills, and so I wanted to get your point of view on the differences, because as it was explained, the difference was, the previous bill was after you've already chosen the van, what kind of van and how you want it, and your bill was you're choosing beforehand the difference between a sedan and the van. So can you explain kind of where yours gets inserted in that process?
Thanks for the question. I mean, really what we've learned in our processes throughout the years, and I'll just mention that I've been involved in this policy since the first round in 2019, so we've been doing it a long time. But what we've learned through capital design projects or building projects in general, the better design phase you've gone through, the more likely you are to build and end up with a better product and have a better understanding of all the nuances that are going to go into that construction. You have more time to go out and understand the materials you're sourcing, where they're coming from, because by the time you're at the build, a lot of those decisions should have been made. And we all know that if you're making those decisions when it's time to be building, you're looking at significant timeline loss. So that's a key, I think it's a key part of the difference in the legislation. I would think that the architects and folks that are involved in that design phase would be more keen on being involved in that phase rather than the construction.